Hi, so today I'm going to show you how to do a provisional cast on so that you can have stitches and do like a nice double cuff like I've done on these socks. So it's thicker. I've doubled the yarn, so I cast it on, knit, came around and then joined it. And you can use this for socks or mittens or hat. The one we're going to do, this provisional cast on I'm going to show you, is with a crochet hook with a crochet chain, and then you knit from there. So we're going to work with 20 stitches. I'm going to do a slip knot and chain 20 stitches. So my slip knot does not count. And now if you don't know how to crochet, this is how we make a chain. We grab the working yarn and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3. We're going to want to do more than 20 just because we're going to want to have a little extra on both sides so that we have more room to work with. I'm doing a very loose chain. I don't want anything too tight. Usually you'd want to use a hook that's the same size as the needles you're going to be working with, or a little bit larger. Again, looser is better than tighter in this situation. So I'll do a few more and then I'll count and see if I have more than 20. For this example, I'm going to show you how to do a provisional cast on and then start working in the round, and what to do at the end when you want to get rid of the crochet chain and how to get rid of it. So I'm going to count the bumps in the back. You see how you have a clean side that looks like knit stitches and the underside that looks like bumps. I'm going to want to count the bumps. Whoops, sorry. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I'll just do like 5 more, why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'm now going to cut my yarn here, bring it through, and I'm going to pull a little, but not too snug. And I'm going to make a knot on this strand, not the one I used to start, but at the end, so that when it's time to take it out, I know which side I need to pull. I can just do this or whatever, anything to indicate the difference that this is the side I need to pull out first. Okay, once I've done that, and this you don't do this with your main yarn, you do it with a contrast color yarn so that you can see clearly which is your yarn and which is your chain. Okay, so now I have my working yarn that I'm going to use for my project, whatever the project is. In this case, it's in purple. I have my crochet chain, and now I have the needles that my pattern calls for, whatever size it is. And it says, let's make it up. It says I need to cast on 20 stitches. So as we counted the bumps, we're going to go into each bump. So I'm going to see if I can bring it closer. Each bump like this, and knit through it and bring the yarn back and consider each bump a stitch. If for some reason you find it's getting tight because you crocheted a tight chain and you can't go into every single bump, that's okay. You can skip a bump. It doesn't matter because when you take the chain out, it's not going to affect anything. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. We did 5 extra stitches, so I'm going to skip, let's say, like the first 3 bumps, and I'm going to start in my 4th bump here. Put my needle through, I take my working yarn and I wrap it around. I'm going to pretend that my crochet chain is a needle, and then I bring it back through, and there's my first stitch. I go into my 2nd bump right here, put my needle in and bring it back. That's 2. My 3rd bump, that's 3. 4th bump. You really do want to be careful and make sure you go into the bump and not into one of the outside. So you want to go into this part that's coming out, not in the loops that are on the top or the bottom. You really want to avoid those. And you want to be careful not to split this, because if you do, it's you're going to have a hard time taking that out. So let's go in here. Now I'll skip one just to show you what happens. So I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to go into this one so that later on in the video you can see, oh, okay, it really doesn't affect it. If I skip one, it's not the end of the world. The only problem is if you keep skipping a lot and you didn't chain a lot of chains, you're going to run out of it, and then that'll be a bit of a pain. Okay, so we keep going. So how many do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 10, 11, me too, after 20. Okay, so I've just finished casting on my 20 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect. And I have a bit of a tail here and a bit of a tail here. That's perfect. It's not going to get in my way, and I should be able to work really well. Now this is a really nice provisional cast on, because it's the least burdensome and cumbersome technique for when you're actually working and knitting in the project. It's the picking up the stitches that is more of a pain and not as enjoyable. So this is probably not my favorite technique. There's a technique using a rubber cord, which I've done a video for, and then there's a technique using another set of needles, which I've done a video for. So pick your poison and go with it that way. We are going to start working in the round immediately, just because it's so solid and safe. So I'm going to divide it into 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, fold it in half, and bring both needles up, bring the stitches up to the needles. So I'm here, and I can start working in the round. If you know how to do this, you can skip this whole part. If you don't, well then keep looking. So my working yarn is coming out of this needle, so that means I've already worked those stitches, so I can't work those again. I have to come and work the stitches in the front. So to do that, I'm going to pull my back needle out and go around, creating 2 loops, 1 loop here and 1 loop here. And now I have my stitches ready to work on. Make sure if you're going to work on this that you don't create a loop-de-loop, or you don't twist your stitches, because it'll just make it into a Mobius cast on, and you won't be able to wear it. So if you're trying to do a hat, mitts, or socks, it will be impossible to wear. You'll have to take it out. There is no solution, no cheating, no nothing for that. So make sure your stitches are not twisted, that everything looks nice, and then you can just go ahead and start knitting into that front stitch. It's going to be loose because that's the tail that you had. So if you feel that it's coming off, just pull that tail yarn a little. So we're going to knit across the stitches, and you're going to have a bit of a gap here. That's okay too. Don't worry about that. We will not see it in the end product. So we knit across the first 10 stitches, and then we still have the other 10 stitches to work across. So I finished those. I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to try and keep pushing it down the middle so it keeps going in the right direction. Again, I have my working yarn coming out of this needle, so I can't work those stitches, so I have to push this needle back onto my stitches, and I pull this one out, and I'm going to work across these other 10 stitches that I have here. Okay, I finished, and I'm back at the beginning of the row. So I've done one row now. So I turn around and I just keep going in the same fashion. Remember I said there would be a gap here? Don't worry about it. It'll start getting smaller and smaller the more you knit and the further you go up on your work. So again, I want to bring my working yarn is coming out of my back needle. So that's the needle that comes out. I push the other one in and I continue working in this fashion. Or I do whatever the pattern tells me I need to do. Whether knit or purl or 2x2 rib or whatever it is you need to do, this is your chance to do that. And they say however many rows you need to work, you work. And then at one point it'll say, okay, join provisional stitches to working stitches. So I will meet you back there when I finish a couple of rows to show you how to do that. Okay, so let's say my pattern said knit 10 rows. I've done, let's say, my 10 rows. I want to make sure I stop at the beginning of my round, and I know the beginning of my round is here because this is where I joined. That loose stitch, I can just pull, tighten it, and here is the start of my cuff, right? So now the goal is to fold this over, to fold it over, and knit the stitches that are on the green yarn together with the stitches that are on my needle, and that'll close this off completely and make it look really nice. But the first thing I need to do is I need to pick up these stitches and put them on the needle so that I can knit the two stitches together. So this is where this loop thing comes in handy. We're going to start taking it out from this end, okay? You will want to make sure you take time, you're not rushing, so you don't drop any of the stitches that you have on here. And for this, you'll need another set of needles, either the same size, but I usually find a smaller size works better, especially when picking up from the crochet chain. So to take out my crochet chain, I know it's this one because I've done my little loop. I'm going to first take off that first bump we see here. I'm going to pull it through. Oh, I can undo this now. I'm going to pull it through. And now I just gently, ever so gently, pull my chain out and I try and catch my stitches as they come. So here's my first stitch, which is that very loose one, and we're going to keep losing it. So don't worry about that one because we'll pick that one up when we have to knit it together with this one. So I'm not worried about this loose strand here, okay? But I am going to worry about all the other stitches that we have coming up here. So here you can see that first one. You can see it very clearly. It's this one that I want to pick up. So if I take my crochet chain and I pull, you see how this came out and it's coming through that one. I want to stick my needle in there and finish pulling that. And there's my first stitch. I can also, I see the greenness coming out of this hole here. I can also go in there in advance and then pull my green chain out. Again, try not to split your yarn, otherwise it's going to be really hard. So I'm going to come in here and pull this out. Come in here, my next stitch, and pull it out. And I'm going to do this all the way around till I have all my stitches on, on my needle. So in here, pull, in here, and pull. Because I know I've lost one stitch here, I'm only going to do 9, and then I'm going to pull my needle through and wrap it around so that I have 9 to match up with these, and then the other 10 to match up with the other side. So I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and one more 9. I'm going to pull my needle through, turn my work, and then continue picking up my remainder stitches. You want to come in from the back or the front, either way. I think if you come in actually this way, your stitches won't be twisted. And that's it. Oops, it's a very long string there. Okay, so let's count. I should have 10 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Oh, 4, 6, 8, 9. So I guess I didn't lose a stitch. That's awesome. So I'm going to slip this one over here so that I have 10 and 10. And then we're perfect. I now have 10 and 10. And I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Now, I have 2 sets of needles, my working needles. I know these are my working needles because my working yarn is coming out of these needles. So these are my original needles that I want to keep for the remainder of my work. And I have my spare needles that I just put in so I can knit the 2 stitches together. So the next part's going to be a little messy, but I'll explain it to you. I want to bring all of this in through the middle and up and out through the top here so that this bottom needle is parallel to this one. And I have somebody who's trying to help me here. One of my cats. Give me a second. Oops. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with one needle and then the other needle. And then bring the loop through. Essentially, I guess we're turning the work inside out. Sorry, there's no easy way of doing this without making it look so messy. And my cat's still trying to help, sorry. Okay, give me a second. Let me see if I can get him off the table. Okay, now the work is inside it out, so we're just going to sandwich this. He's very persistent. We're going to sandwich this and close it up like this. So now what it looks like is I have all my needles parallel to each other. Let me bring these up. Okay, he really wants to help me today. Check him out. Front center. Anyway, so we have our needles that are completely parallel to each other. We have my working needles, which should be the outside needles. So these are my working needles and these are my spare needles. And what I want to do is I want to knit the stitches together that correspond to each other so that I can fuse that shut and then I have my beautiful cuff. So the way we do that, if you already know how to do this, you can skip to the end and enjoy and continue on with your knitting and enjoy. If you've never done this, let me show you how we do this. We push them up to the needle, to the tip of the needle, and these guys we're going to pull out. Now remember which one's your working needle, the outside. You're going to use that one to continue working. So you are going to come here, take your working yarn. I have a lot of interesting obstacles right now. Okay, so take your working yarn and you're going to want to knit into the, sorry about the cat, knit into the front leg of the front needle and the front leg of the back needle. You put the needle through both of them. You take your working yarn and you wrap it around and then you bring it back through the back needle, back through the front needle, and take off those 2 stitches. Again, you go into the front leg of the front needle, front leg of the back needle, although these are all twisted. I know my stitch is twisted because the front leg should always be the right leg, not the left leg. I don't know if you can see that. So I could untwist them all, and that's just going to take me much longer, or I can just knit into the back of it. Back through and back through and take it off. Again, front leg. Oh, no, you see, I was knitting it. I didn't even do that. So front leg, and then here it's twisted again, so I'm going to go into the back leg, knit. Oh my goodness. Bring them through the both stitches and take it off. Front leg, twist it, so I'm going to the back leg, knit, and take it off. And I'm going to do this all the way across. I'll show you what happens when the stitches aren't twisted. If they're twisted, like I said, it's no biggie. You're just knitting into the back leg. But they have to be twisted. And by twisted, notice how here my front leg is the right one. It's the one on the right side. And here my front leg is the one on the left side. So that stitch is twisted. They should always, the front leg should always be the right leg. So when the stitches are twisted like that, you can confidently knit into the back leg. And that's the first 10 stitches. And we still have to do the other 10 stitches. So I'm going to turn my work like I've been doing all the other time and continue working here. My working yarn is being held hostage by the cat, so I'm running out of working yarn, but I'm sure I can make this work. So I'm going to bring my needles back through, get ready to knit these 10 stitches. Remember, the needle I want to keep is the one on the outside. That's my working needle that I want to keep, and I'll be getting rid of the needle on the inside. So again, I need to pull this one out, and then I knit the corresponding stitches together. Front leg, is this one still twisted? Yep, still twisted, so back leg. Oops. Front leg, back leg. And the next one is no longer twisted. You see how the right leg is in front? So that stitch is no longer twisted, so I knit the front with the front. I hope I'm not confusing you more. So we're going to knit that together. And nearly done here. Notice I was about to skip this. I didn't even go into the leg. Okay, so front, front. Pay attention. Don't do what I'm doing. And, oh, this is not a stitch. That's just a working yarn that I put over the needle when I was knitting all the stitches together. So I'm not worried. I'm going to knit this one with this one, which is a stitch, because you can see it's attached to something down here. So I'm going to knit this one with this one, and then I'll just drop that. It's not a problem. So knit this with this, and I can drop the other one, get rid of that spare needle I had, and voila, there is my beautiful cuff that's super elastic. For a hat, it's a really nice band that's double layer, so it's nice and thick and it keeps your ears warm. For mittens, it keeps your wrist warm. For socks, your ankles, whichever whatever reason you want to do this, even for the neck of a sweater, this would be really nice. So it's really nice, stretchy, and super fun. So I hope that was helpful, and have a great day.